Chinese astrology, the year of the wood snake, transformation, changes and everything. And yes, we are coming into our transition time for the seasons too, and that is so true. This pollen and change of hot and cold is what it is. But before I get into the conversation, I wanted to say I do speak and work with inspiration, so your energy and the energy that is needed here is going to go to work here in a moment. So we all will explore whatever shows up. So we'll take the tail end of the pollination cycle. Is there, coming from my geographic time-space continuum, my mother would say this change in the weather and the temperature is usually tells you how your immunity is. So you need to pay attention and build that up as the days are going to transition. And I still sometimes feel that teaching come through in my own way as I'm receiving my tidbits. And that's what I feel I'm going to talk about, because my morning thought is, I don't know. And that's where my seed-based thought is. And what it is. What does it do for you? If you think about from that phrase, I don't know, what does it spin inside of you? And our religion of spiritualism is very much integrated in the philosophies of natural and spiritual and physical laws of life. And if you have studied and paid some attention in school in the physics and chemistry, under all circumstances standard, this should come out in a specified way. So even those laws qualify that there has to be a proper environmental condition to get a desired outcome. The right temperature, the right setting, right balance of ingredients. And that's the part for me, is I don't know where we are, because the consciousness right now, it feels like it's ever more expanded than it was before. But I also feel the empathy within it is also here, there, and everywhere. So that sense of knowing within each of our consciousnesses changing those standard setups. So you might find through your own journeys or other people's journey, you might get impacted by it. So, I don't know, because that's just sometimes life is all about. You go into that space of not knowing. And I'm pretty sure we all have gone through those phases many, many a times. So you will have your own storylines that where you have found yourself unsure or just simply saying, I don't know what to do. So what do we do at that time here? I don't know. So in the little library section in the space, I found a little book, and I just flipped through one of its chapters. I will refrain from reading the whole of it, but I will read the last few lines of this, which are right here on page number 23. And what it reads here, we must realize that we can endure a lot of pain and pleasure for the sake of finding out who we are and what this world is, how we tick and how our world ticks, how the whole thing just is. So, if you ever find yourself in today and tomorrow or next day to having to that space for yourself, where you find yourself, I don't know what's going on, or I don't know what to do. What I will say is, if you leave it alone for just a little while, it'll sort itself out. And I feel that is also the natural order of life. Because we have grown to rush things or move things faster than they are supposed to go. And that allows us to feel the separation or not having the alignment with things, and we feel out of sync or out of balance from those experiences. But when things are just what they are supposed to be, just like that last 2-3 words says, see just how that is. And leaving it alone sometimes might do nothing in a palpable way or in a tangible way or in a understanding way. But energies are always working. We know that's how they are. If we do anything about it or not, they are always at operation. Something is always happening. It's moving. But a lot of times, one can never know how it's going to go. Because If it is only us, then we can perhaps relatively understand how we're going to act and react with it. But if others are connected with that piece of movement, we don't know how they will respond to it. We would desire or want how that goes, but maybe it won't go that way. So when things don't go your way, it disappoints us. But maybe I would want to say, maybe use this phrase as a reason, I don't know. What it's also saying is, I don't know. So any other possibility becomes a welcoming thought. How do we get to define it? From sense of opposition, polarity, alignment, that's for us to decide. So just looking at a little quick glimpse in our own each version of life where things didn't work out right, or things you wanted to happen a certain way and they didn't move in that space-time continuum. How do you feel about it today? If you say, I don't know, the work is still in progress because you're not feeling conclusive about that energy. You're not feeling full within that experience. So, is there anything that you have to do about it? Now that becomes interesting because we try to sort out or do closeouts or finish things, completions. But is life ever complete? And I don't think it ever will. It's always stimulated by the next thought and the next thing and the next feeling and the next want and the next desire. And that's just how it is. So we can only imagine how things are going to move in our trajectory of life. But at the same time, the excitement of exploration and discovery, I feel like needs to just become the second track in your pathway. You know, the railroad tracks, they stay apart, but they move that object from point A to point B, safe and sound unless other things are happening. So could you understand that discovery and exploration within the adventure of life can stimulate everything else that is on the threshold of experience? Now why do we talk about this from that space? Because the desire to communicate with the higher side or know about the higher realms, our guides and our loved ones, angels, etc., they somewhere also spur from the need or the want to experience those things. Sometimes we are just sitting in the want for that and it doesn't go the way we would like to experience. But a part of that is you walk away from things, I don't know what it was about. But maybe things make sense months later down the road to have that space. To complement what I'm saying is, I received an email last week and I was not sure where this was coming on. It's one of those felt like cyber glitches. The email got stuck somewhere in time and now it got released. So I had to really go through that, paying attention to that email. So I concluded it was sent in current time space. It didn't get stuck. But it was also coming from 2016, 2018 time period. And it was a validation of a session I went through this person, which I had zero memory of. But validations of saying is I didn't understand what was being said or what was being presented. And I was like really not sure. And I felt like that communication was between two family members. They were talking to each other and they finally wanted to forward that communication to me. So it became current time period. But the validation was things just fell in place. 2016 and up at this time is almost 8 years long. The height of what that excitement for me, one was like, oh, this is a wonderful testimonial from their experience, but also it says to me, a lot of times as our work demands to have a timeline attached to it, it may not be exactly how it's going to work out. Those numbers could change, those parameters of discernment could change. And where somebody would walk away from a session saying, I don't know what this was all about. 8, 9 years later, they might be sitting on some version of like, oh well, here we go. Everything just makes sense. So we don't know how our life is impacting others. And that's just the process of the natural laws are, especially in today's moving time. So that openness to be present and openness to be there with all your heart, I feel is much more needed today than I think it was ever was. And I said this right from this platform. We say this, life is changing, life has always been changing. But because the mass of consciousness has grown to a certain massive space, I feel is more palpable on our micro levels. So when you're feeling those emotions, and you don't know where they're coming from, and your life is great and blessed and everything, but you're still feeling the empathy through your own sensitivity, hold space for that very thing. Open your heart with love, open your space with love, and just let it be, even if it's for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever you choose. Your choice will help feed the higher vibration to be even more higher vibration. It's just being in that space. So imagine if Libra is lopsided at this time. We are striving for balance, but there is no balance. Part of that is when we are projecting a lot of positive, higher vibrational space of love and healing, it takes us to many different places. It takes us, it really does. And I have struggled with that thought on and off. We are so few. However, over my last 7-8 months, I'm recognizing those few are very powerful. And they have the ability to shift the consciousness to some version of equilibrium. I do not know what that is, but that equilibrium is very palpable. I don't know. It just has to figure itself out. And that's the law of continuity, is it always figures it out. In the same area, they're saying everything grows stronger with love. And my amusement said, well, it sure does. Right? Have you ever have met somebody who was very much in love and getting even with somebody? Even their desire to get even gets stronger with that version of love. That's their version of love. We don't get to discern that it has to be our version of love. We are passionate about that space. And I'm saying this because part of that recognition is because we are humans, not everybody is on the same spiritual playing field as the person sitting next to you. It's different for everybody. So how can we say their relative reality, that love for whatever they are seeking, is any different than me getting to love whatever I get to choose to love in my way? Something is feeding there, right? The outcome or the consequences, choices, are always there, as those natural laws do exist. So however they participate, everything is a perpetuation of energy, of co-creating the energy, dissipating the energy, shifting and moving the energy. And I feel my point, once again, returns to, if you're feeling within your empathy and you know it doesn't belong to you, hold space for that. We all have the power in our soul to move it into a good feeling place or in a higher feeling place. But we can do it. Now, how it's going to look for you, I don't know. You will have to experience that for yourself. Right? So on the other side of life, what else is going on? I feel there's a lot of activity moving on the spiritual planes. Part of my version sometimes equates this to our planet's guides and caretakers are changing. They're doing the shift change. And sometimes when the shift change happens, things go a little left or right. You know, they're not always in harmony with each other. But that being said, so that shift is happening, and I feel like in another few weeks, this shift might sort itself out, and it will come into a place of completion of some sort. So there's going to be some relief in what we are feeling, or we may be feeling over the next few weeks, so to speak. Is there? Yesterday I was in a little conversation, and a loved one, this is my repeated teaching for myself. So I was working and I went seeking a communication from a past loved one. And all I could hear is, I'm trying to move on. That I'm paraphrasing that experience because I was not there physically to remember everything. But that's what it felt like, I'm moving on. And as I validated that nature of the person in question, some part of that got responded to, yeah, they would have done that. They've finished the station, they're moving on to something else. And all I would tell you, this was very different, their voice felt like they were like almost a mile away. We were talking from some far space, and the voice was so distant and far, but very crisp in understanding. And I communicated everything, I felt like it just went on very smoothly in conversation. The validations, where things are from their perspective, etc. But my awareness is our work with spirit on the other side, or the invisible side, is always so fascinating. And it left me, like I just sat in my chair just reminiscing about the whole feeling, not the experience of conversation, because I do pay attention to those feeling spaces, and I think you should too, because you are all sensitive human beings, regardless of your choice and nature of your work. Allow that sensitivity to receive things. And that becomes exciting, because you will understand you have the power within yourself to move and shift the energies that are operating, or the energies we are operating within. So be sensitive, be open. It would be nice for somebody else to tell me what to do tomorrow and the day after. But I'm enjoying this little subtlety of sensitivity, because it leaves me in a beautiful place. So I just enjoyed that space, because what registered in me how far that voice came from. So our loved ones will respond to our needs and wants. Maybe not so much to the desire part of it, because desire is akin to some fantasizing of some aspect of things. But they will definitely respond. So that loved one understood the need of the person that was sitting across from me, and they responded, and it was efficient. And that's another part of my journey, is those spirit people are very efficient. They know how to move in and out of different times and different dimensions to accomplish whatever needs to be done. So they are far more effective than we are, just understanding what we need in that given time and space, and to recognize the version of healing that we are required. So, please be aware of your sensitivity, and understand these spaces are also accessible to you. It's not just the mediums or the psychics or the healers' experience, it's yours, because just how that is. But enjoy that little part of sensitivity. Now, as I'm going to bring our conversation to a sense of closure in this talk, I will go back to these few lines. Life is always going to challenge us. And sometimes what it does for us is, when we're having a great time, we don't get to enjoy it thoroughly, because we keep waiting for the shoe to fall. And that part for me, I think, is doing a disservice to ourselves. So when you're in the height of your excitement, learn how to hold that vibration right where it is. And more great, equal, matching experience will come into your experience to have more enjoyment out of it. But if you're really looking forward to go away, you might reduce the time-space continuum and bring upon experiences that will help you grow and expand, and maybe that's not what you're looking for. So over the last 3 weeks, I've caught myself saying this to a lot of people: try to change your narrative. You can say the same thing, try to reapproach the phrases in a different form. Come with a creative, positive, affirmative sentences to end your needs and wants, and see how it beautifully works out for you. So go on. Life is just exactly where it's supposed to be. It's no different than where it was not going to be. And whatever we are trying to create can happen, but 99% of the consciousness will have come to at the same focal point. Can that happen? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't know. Now, if you pay attention, this I don't know is saying is, I only know so much, everything else is still to be discovered. I don't know is saying that I'm dismissing, but I really don't know what the possibilities are when they show up. Our job becomes to be responding to it. I'm wanting everybody to stop reacting to it, respond to it. Vibratory index of both words are different. But unless you get yourself in those shoes of experience, even you would not know. let alone me not knowing. And I'm becoming so playful with my not knowing because I know there's something else is better waiting on the corner for me than anything else. I'm playing with that, and Spirit plays with us all the time because they put us in crossroads and difficult situations just to get a kick out of us. You know, like that beautiful saying, you know how to crack a joke with God, make a plan. So think about that. You have no idea. You just know, you take that spirit of joy and excitement and exploration, it will give you good outcomes, regardless of where you are in life. You've got to be excited. And you would not know what the outcome is until you get there, walking up saying, I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on. But you have to be in that excitement stage. You cannot solve, you cannot brew. It's counterproductive. So, if you really want to take this conversation to the next spaces for yourself, law of opposition, law of polarization are good natural laws to study. Put it out there for the month of February and just go about, see what lessons you will pick up along the way, studying those two laws. Maybe it'll help you for the next 10 months to make everything so enjoyable because you will see the contrast in every aspect of your life. You cannot do away with contrast. So that being said, please enjoy your journey, and I'm going to enjoy mine because every step of the way I might just keep walking and saying, I don't know what this is about. I'm going to have a good time, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Wow.